Adam had many sons, but of all of his sons, there was a pale one. His eyes were as blue as the oceans that once were our prison. His hair seemed ashen. His flesh was only slightly darker than ours. He was very different in contrast to Adam and the rest of his family, for they were all dark-skinned, like the clay found in the deepest parts of the earth, like most mortals are. His name was Cain. He was envious of his younger brother Abel. Abel was a shepherd. He tended to his herd, and he had the love and admiration of their father Adam. Cain was a farmer. It seemed nothing he did or accomplished would make his father stare at him the way his father stared at Abel. Cain yearned for the love and admiration of his father. One can blame me for the murder of Abel, but they forget that Adam set the stage for it. Giving one son more love than the other is to make them bitter enemies. Abel is the tragedy of Adam's incompetence as a father. I see myself a lot in Cain. Like Cain, I yearned for the love of our father, but instead he gave it to Adam and forever extinguished me. One can say that the tale of Adam and I was a precursor to Cain and Abel. I watched them for many years. Cain would bring in the best crops that would feed the entire family. Cain was an excellent farmer. Despite his malady of having pale skin, he was very skilled in his trade. But none would thank poor Cain. He would seethe when Abel would simply tell of how he found a lost sheep. His father would congratulate Abel and praise him, yet ignore the fact that the food they ate was because of Cain. Cain would get enraged when they thanked Allah for the bounty. They ate from Cain's crops, but did not thank him. But he kept all of this pain and rage hidden behind his pale, simple smile. All were fooled by that smile, but me. I could see his heart. Even through the flames, I could see the hate in his eyes, the envy and longing for his father's admiration. So I started to whisper to him. Oh, Undreed, to whisper to a mortal is ecstasy. It's like drinking fresh blood, or like a mortal man taking the woman he has always longed for. As Cain slept or worked, I would whisper, if Abel were gone, you would get the love you deserve from your father. I was subtle at first. He would nod his head and agree, but I could tell it was a passing thought. Not something he would actually do yet. I did not want to whisper too much too soon, so I just whispered the same thing. If Abel were gone, you would get the love you deserve from your father. Like before, Cain would nod and agree. After weeks and months of whispering this, I started to see him believe it. Mortals are strange that way. If they hear the same thing over and over, they would trip over themselves to believe it despite truly knowing it is a lie. Cain began to look at Abel differently. He would sneer at him as the family ate his crops. He started to wince at the sound of Abel's name. It seemed like hearing his brother's name was a physical blow to him. The look of envy in Cain's eyes turned to cold murder. That's when I knew I had him. My whispering changed. It was more direct, more purposeful. Kill Abel! Kill him! Cain would nod, and the wheels in his mind were turning. He was planning his brother's murder. But he was not there yet. Just because a man plans something out of rage does not mean he would follow through with it. I had to wait for him to be alone with Abel and fan his rage. Time is nothing to us, as Jin's 1,000 years passes like hours for us. Time is truly different when you're immortal. It was not long before the opportunity presented itself. Every year, Cain and Abel would present an offer to God. God would tell Adam whose offering was most pleasing to him. It had been equal thus far. Some years, Cain's offerings of his best crops pleased Allah more than the slaughter of one of Abel's lambs. Other years it was the reverse. They both worked hard all year to give God the best offering. This is yet another failure of Adam's, or was it a failure on God's part? Pitting brother against brother for the favour of God. That seemed worse to me than fighting for the favour of your mortal father. They would be alone in the offering circle. I could not let this opportunity pass. Your crops will fail, Cain. Abel sneaks out every night to piss on them, I whispered. Cain's crops looked magnificent. They were the best fruits and vegetables I have ever seen, plump and rich with colour juices. I could see Cain's pale brow furrow as he thought of this and examined his crops for a flaw. Why would God want crops that have been defiled by waste? I whispered. I could feel Cain shake with rage. He leaned down and sniffed his crops. Of course he did not smell the piss of his brother. Abel stood in the offering circle beside his brother Cain. He had a rare sheep this year. The sheep was beautiful. Its wool was as black as Abel's beard and flesh. Abel had all the shape so its black wool shone in the dawn light. The sheep was beautiful. Abel smiled brightly as he admired his sheep. What Cain did not know was Abel knew of his brother's growing frustration. Abel had noticed the look of rage in Cain's eyes as he stared at him. As an act of love, Abel was going to give this beautiful sheep to Cain. So Cain would have two offerings, and thus get the favour of God and the praise he craved from their father. Abel was a kind soul. He loved his family. He did not want the praise that was heaped on him. He preferred a quiet life with his sheep. Look how smug Abel is. He knows he will win. Look at his beautiful sheep. Why would God accept your defiled crops over that? I whispered. When a whisper hits home and read, it's like an orgasm. My entire being spasmed as Cain roared in rage and pushed his brother to the ground. Abel looked at Cain with pain in his eyes. Abel would not fight his brother. Abel was stronger and could have bested him, but Abel knew he would have to hurt Cain. Hurting his beloved brother, even to save his life, was not something Abel could do. Abel stared into Cain's rage-filled eyes with nothing but love for his brother. This halted Cain. He had grabbed a huge rock and held it above his head. He was going to smash Abel's skull with it, but Abel's look and lack of fighting back halted Cain's rage. I could not have this. "Kill him!" I whispered. Still, Cain did not move. He seemed confused. "Brother?" Abel asked. "He will tell your father that you attacked him, and he will banish you from your home," I whispered. Cain's huge, pale body shook. He did not want to kill his brother. In his heart, he deeply regrets pushing his beloved Abel. Cain started to lower the rock. He was going to apologize to his brother and confess to his father his faults. I was disgusted, and I had to do something. I threw myself into my voice. I would force Cain's pathetic hand. "Kill him!" I demanded. Cain shook his head. "I can't," Cain whispered, defeated. I took control of Cain at that moment. Cain was exhausted and weak. It did not take much to make him my puppet. He raised the rock above his head and brought it down with all of his strength on Abel's tear-stained face. The sound of his bones breaking beneath the blow was sickening. I made him hit Abel again and again. Abel's blood dripped off of Cain's face and arms. He took control and dropped the rock. He held Abel's body and wept. "Oh, Allah, forgive me," Cain sobbed as he held his brother's destroyed head. Pieces of his brain and skull lay on the grass beneath him. "What have I done?" Cain whispered.
"Cain? Abel?"
The voice of his mother sounded. Cain's heart raced. He could not face his mother with this. It would break her heart to see what Cain had done. Cain carried his brother's broken body to the woods and buried him. He wept as he washed Abel's blood from him and returned to his father's home for dinner. His parents looked at him strangely but seemed oblivious to what had happened. "Where is Abel?" Adam asked. Cain held back his tears and shrugged his shoulders. Adam looked at Hawa and frowned. "Abel gifted you his beautiful black sheep, Cain. He wanted you to have God's favor, and mine," Adam said, smiling. Adam motioned to his daughter. She stepped forward with Abel's beloved black sheep. Cain could not take it. He howled in agony and ran from his father's table and house. He ran for years, Angrid. His shame and his guilt would not allow him to look at his father's face or be in his presence. I had scored another victory against Adam. I had taken 2 of his beloved sons from him in one fatal strike. I remember sitting here in this very cave Angrid and smiling as I watched Adam weep for his sons. He wept for his murdered son Abel and for the lost soul of his pale son Cain. Iblis finished. I shivered as I watched Iblis smile darkly into the fire, remembering what he had done. I recoiled from him. Who was this monster that sat before me? I could not stay here. I stood and gathered my meagre things. Iblis did not move as I walked to the cave mouth. He just stared at the fire and laughed. I shivered. "If I ever see you again, Angrid, I will find a way to kill you," Iblis shouted after me. I ran from Iblis and that cave. I ran from his dark laughter. Though I loved that cave, it was Iblis's domain. I would never return there.